Well, I'll ask a related question. Do you feel there's any burden we have as critics of religion to be even-handed in our criticism of religion, or is it fair to notice that there's a spectrum of religious ideas and commitments, and Islam is on one end of it, and the Amish and the Jains and others are on another, and there are real differences here that we have to take seriously?
Well, of course we have to take them seriously, but we don't have to do the network balancing trick all the time. There are plenty of people taking care of pointing out the good stuff and the benign stuff, and we can acknowledge that and then concentrate on the problems. That's what critics do. And again, it's, if we were writing books about the pharmaceutical industry, would we have to spend equal time on all the good they do? Or could we specialize in the problems? And I think it's very clear.
I think Sam's asking more about...
But we could criticize Merck if they were especially egregious as opposed to some other company. I mean, if we were focusing on the pharmaceutical industry, not all pharmaceutical businesses would be culpable in the same way.
Yeah, right. Well, so then the question is what? Is there something wrong with...
No, I think you're talking at cross purposes. I think Sam's asking about whether we should be even-handed in criticising the different religions. You're talking about even-handedness about good versus bad. And,
whether all religions are equally bad.
Yes, whether Islam is worse than Christianity or...
It seems to me that we fail to enlist the friends we have on this subject when we balance this. I mean, it's a tactic. It's a media tactic, and in some sense, it's almost an ontological commitment of atheism to say that all faith claims are in some sense equivalent. You know, the media says the Muslims have their extremists, and we have our extremists. We have jihadists in the Middle East, and we have
there's an imbalance there.
People who kill abortion doctors, and it's just not a real equation. I mean, the mayhem that's going on under the aegis of Islam just cannot be compared to the fact that we have two people who a decade kill abortionists, and so I think my commitment. I mean, this is one of the problems I have with the concept of atheism. Is I just think it hobbles us in this discourse where we have to seem to kind of spread the light of criticism equally in all directions at all moments, and I think we could, on any specific question, have a majority of religious people agree with us. I mean, a majority of people in this country, in the United States, clearly agree that the doctrine of martyrdom in Islam is appalling and not benign and liable to get a lot of people killed and worthy of criticism. Likewise, the doctrine that souls live in petri dishes. Even Christians, even 70% of Americans don't want to believe that in light of the promise of stem cell research. So it seems to me once we focus on particulars, we have a real strength of numbers, and yet when we stand back from the ramparts of atheism and say it's all bogus, we lose 90% of our neighbors.
Well, I'm sure that's right. On the other hand, my concern is actually not so much with the evils of religion as whether it's true. And I really do. I mean, I care passionately about that. The fact of the matter is there, as a matter of fact, a supernatural creator in this universe. And I really care about that. And so, although I also care about the evils of religion, I'm prepared to be even-handed because they all make this claim, which seems to me equally...
I would never give up the claim that all religions are equally false. And for that reason, because they're false by preferring faith to reason, latently at least equally dangerous.
But equally false, but surely not quite equally dangerous because of...
No, latently I think so. Because
latently maybe.
Because of the surrender of the mind. The surrender of the mind, the eagerness to discard the only thing that we've got that makes us higher primates, the faculty of reason. That's always deadly. And always,
I'm not sure.
I think
it's potentially
the Amish can't hurt me, but they can sure hurt the people who live in their community. They have a little totalitarian
But not quite in the same way.
The Dalai Lama claims to be a god king of hereditary monarchy and inherited godliness. It's the most repulsive possible idea, and he runs a crummy little dictatorship in Dharamsala. Right. And it would be worse, and praises the Indian nuclear test, it would be worse. It's only limited by his own limited scope.
But if you added
the same evil
jihad to that, you would be more concerned.
Well, look, every time I've ever debated with Islamists, they've all said, you've just offended 1 billion Muslims, as if they spoke for them.
Right.
As if there's a definite threat to this, a menace, a military tone to what they say. In other words, if they'd said, you've just offended me as a Muslim, it doesn't sound quite the same, does it? If they were the only one who believed in the Prophet Muhammad. No, it's 1 billion. And by the way, what's implied in that is watch out.
Right. Yeah.
I don't care. If it was only one person who believed that the Prophet Muhammad had been given dictation by the Archangel Gabriel, I'd still say what I was saying.
Right, but you wouldn't lay awake
And
at
it would
night.
be just as dangerous that they believed that, yes. It would, because it could spread. The belief could become more general.
It has, in the case of Islam, it has spread and is spreading, and so its danger is not only potential but actual.
Yeah. I can see no contradiction.
Yes, but over space and time, I think it's tremendously evens out. I mean, I didn't expect, I'm sure neither did you, in the 60s, that there would be such a threat from Jewish fundamentalism. Relatively small numbers, but in a very important place, strategic place, and deciding to try and bring on the Messiah by stealing other people's land and trying to bring on the end.
Yeah.
It's numerically, it's extremely small.
Right.
But the consequences that it's had have been absolutely calamitous. And we didn't used to think, actually, of Judaism as a threat in that way at all.
Yeah.
Until the Zionist movement annexed the Messianic, or fused with it, because the Messianists didn't used to be Zionists, as you know. So you never know when it's going to be next. I agree. I'm not likely to have my throat cut at the supermarket by a Quaker.
Yes.
But the Quakers do a lot of the work by saying we preach non-resistance to evil.
Right.
That's as wicked a position as you could possibly have.
Given the right context.
I mean, what could be more revolting than that? Yeah. Say, you see evil and violence and cruelty and you don't fight it.
Yeah, they're free riders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Read Franklin on what the Quakers were like at the crucial moment in Philadelphia when there had to be a battle over freedom, and see why people despised them. I would have then said that Quakerism was actually quite a serious danger to the United States. So it's a matter of space and time. But no, they're all equally rotten, false, dishonest, corrupt, humorless, and dangerous.